Hello, everybody. Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government here. We're going to talk a little bit about CNN meltdown, an epic meltdown by Don Lemon or Lemon or whatever he calls himself. He's had a problem where he's been abusing his co-host. As you know, he used to have his own show, and now he's doing mornings for CNN, and he's not used to having a co-host, and he doesn't play well with others. But let's just watch this meltdown. It's instructive.
Citing the New York Post as a credible source and saying that facts are, it's just, I can't believe that we're here.
Caitlin, that was a great interview. All right, moving on.
Anyway, well, not moving on, because listen, that's a big issue when it comes to the American, hold on please with the music. That's a big issue when it comes to the American people. The American people are going to have to suffer through all of this stuff, from election deniers to people who don't believe in facts. We don't have a shared reality. And now it's taken center stage to people like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, that's Don Lemon. And, the rudeness of basically attacking the person who was attacking was somebody who sits as his co-host. He attacked her interview. He then attacked the idea that the laptop was real. Well, here's the problem for him. And having been at CNN, controlling what content he actually saw and presented, I'm confident that he's holding on to the fantasy that the laptop wasn't a real story. But the fact of the matter is very simple. We have little things like CNN, CBS confirming that the Hunter Biden's laptop story, it was real, almost 2 years after the New York Post broke the story. We have the former Twitter executives before Congress today, violating First Amendment right as a private company, but also admitting that they should not have kept the lock on Hunter Biden's laptop information for an extended period of time. And so they admitted that before Congress. Then you have, what is this? That's not what I wanted. That's not what I want. Okay. Getting rid of that. And then you have the claim by some, in fact, it was written directly in a USA Today article today, that it was categorical. Actually, the guy who said it was a guy who's an attorney, a guy who actually engaged in the prosecution of President Trump in the Ukraine impeachment, House member, and he said, there's absolutely categorically false that Joe Biden had anything to do with actually getting the Ukrainian prosecutor fired. So for those of you who remember, well, if that's not quid pro quo, I don't know what is. And the fact is, Joe Biden did have a hand in getting the prosecutor fired. In fact, he had by his own words, in front of the Foreign Relations Council on Foreign Relations, he bragged about it. And note that he talked about being in Ukraine 12 or 13 times. Why would the Vice President of the United States be in Ukraine 12 or 13 times? I mean, that's just mind-boggling. So back to the Hunter Biden laptop. but this has been, we know what happened with it. We know that the left banned it. We know that the FBI told, this is based on the Musk release of the Twitter emails, that the FBI was instrumental in telling various social media companies that they needed to be on the lookout for Russian disinformation, and and described exactly this laptop. We know the FBI had the laptop. We know they had the laptop in 2019. They had the laptop. Okay. So they sat on it for a year, 2 years. So the FBI didn't do anything with it. They sat on it. We know that the person where the laptop was abandoned, the initial story about Hunter Biden was that it wasn't his laptop. And after it was confirmed it was his laptop, he then said, what the information on it is wrong. And then after it was proven that a lot of the information was right and that it was accurate, and wasn't a Russian plant, and hadn't been altered. At that point, now he's suing. He's actually has announced he's going to sue the Delaware computer shop for turning over his laptop to the FBI and making it public under the guise that his privacy was violated and he stole his possessions. It's after denying that they were his for all those for a year, 2 years. Here's the key. He left his computer at a computer repair shop. He abandoned it. If you leave your stuff, if you leave your clothes at a laundromat or at a dry cleaners, after a certain period of time, the dry cleaner can sell them, donate them, or do whatever they want. You've abandoned those clothes. Well, he abandoned his laptop. And since the guy Senator Biden has signed off on the laptop repair person having complete and total access to his laptop, he had given permission in writing for that laptop to be examined because there were problems with it. And you and I it doesn't take much to guess what kind of problems they were having given the nature of what Hunter Biden was doing around the world based on the laptop. But so we have a real problem here. And that problem is this Don Lemon at CNN is in complete denial. He's willing to attack his co-hosts and basically do something that's unheard of in television, and attempt to discredit the interview. And that's incredible. But the real reason is Don Lemon was one of those who aggressively denied that the laptop existed, that it was real, that it wasn't Russian disinformation. There was Russian disinformation. He's the one who was pushing the entire narrative and dismissing it. If he now embraced that their laptop was real, the people who follow Don Lemon would say, wait a second, are you going to give us an apology for admitting you were wrong? And of course, he couldn't do that. So, he instead opted to attack one of his co-hosts. And it just shows in a way that is pretty unprecedented. So what we have is a complete meltdown of one of CNN's big stars over the laptop because he can't get it through his head that it was accurate. And that's a sad commentary, a really sad commentary. But let's just see what we've got here. Bill Ehlers, American FBI needs totally changed. It is corrupt. The FBI, I will tell you, and that's true. What you're saying is true. A lot of people like to say that it's only at the top, but let me tell you a story that happened as the FBI was raiding various homes of people who were suspected of taking a selfie at the Capitol on January 6th. They raided a home and they found a Lego model of the U.S. Capitol. And it was reported that it was written on the evidence thing that it was a Lego model of the U.S. Capitol, And everybody was reporting, oh, these idiots were using a Lego model to map out what they were going to do inside the Capitol, because, the inside of a Lego model has all the hallways and passageways, and that's the way they're built, right? One of the stupider things to claim. But the real thing that shows the real depth of the corruption was that some junior person at the FBI who was cataloging that this was a Lego model said it was built, and the Lego model actually still had the cellophane on it. It was a box that hadn't been built. So in the actual property inventory, the person who was cataloging it at the beginning, the person who was taking down, here's the evidence we're taking down, flat out lied. That person wasn't on the top floor of the FBI building. That person was a low-level agent who was basically sitting cataloging evidence. And they lied on purpose to try to accomplish a mission. So, yeah, the FBI is corrupt, but I'm concerned that the FBI, the corruption at the top, may have rotted the entire apple tree, and I don't know how you fix it at this point. But the fact of the matter is, we better figure out how to fix it, because this is not something we can put up with. He did sign the document, and he allowed the computer software technician, the hardware technician, to go through his computer. He gave them permission. I mean, I don't know how hard that is. He gave them permission. Yeah, Anna, isn't this frustrating? There was a hearing on the Hill today, and it's on with Twitter executives. And I will tell you, one of my takeaways in reading a lot of the emails, I was really kind of profoundly surprised that the Twitter executives were on this thing. A lot of them were sitting there saying, wait a second, we can't just ban stuff. This is and really pushed back hard. The interesting thing is the guy who testified, and it'll be everywhere in the news, a guy named James Baker, testified, no, we didn't have any communication with the FBI. That's a flat out lie. We know that the FBI set up a special portal for Twitter so they can put suggestions in it, what should be banned and what shouldn't be banned. We know that they provided a top secret briefing to Twitter on the subject of what should be banned and what shouldn't be banned. And we know that the only person there who could get the briefing was James Baker, because he was the general counsel at the Department of Justice, at the FBI during the Russia collusion scandal. So the guy who was involved up to his ears in the Russian collusion scandal and lying, then got a job at Twitter and got paid a bunch of money to be the FBI liaison at Twitter, and now he's before Congress saying, no, we didn't get that. It's unbelievable the ability of the left to completely just lie. And he knows because the U.S. attorney in D.C., he knows that there won't be any ramifications for him lying to Congress. Congress could sit there and subpoena him. They could charge him with contempt of Congress, could send a billing charge to the U.S. attorney in D.C., and the U.S. attorney at D.C. will treat it with far less seriousness than they did when they went after Steve Bannon, for instance. So he basically felt he could lie with impunity. Let's see, Joe bragged several times about using quid pro quo by holding millions of dollars over the Ukrainian government until they fired the Ukrainian prosecutor. Yeah, I just played that clip, Roger, and it's and the reason I did is because one of the articles I read today was talking about how one of the Democrat House members who was one of the prosecutors, House Democrat prosecutors against in the Trump impeachment over Ukraine, made this bald-faced lie statement that it was unequivocally untrue about getting the prosecutor fired. And I guess then you have to say that Joe Biden was lying through his teeth, which is not a far stretch. But the fact of the matter is, Joe Biden bragged about it publicly, so you kind of have to take his testimony that he had a big role in that, and he threatened withholding the money from Ukraine. And it's the ability of people on the left to just ignore facts and just say, "Oh, that's not true." Again, it's just a different universe than I live in, and they can never show that they were actually caught, and it's really pretty frustrating. Yeah, Mike, I don't know that nothing will happen to the Bidens. I think one of the stupidest things, if Hunter Biden makes the mistake of going through with a lawsuit against the computer store owner, here's what the computer store owner gets to do. He gets to basically go and say, okay, well, we're going to do depositions. And he gets to ask Hunter Biden all sorts of questions under oath about what was on the laptop. And then he gets to repeat to the government what the government says about if you see something, say something. And in fact, the requirement that is a computer, somebody who works on a computer, if they see illegal activity, or actually I think they're required, I'm pretty confident they're required to report it. And so that's your reality. So yeah, I hope Hunter Biden pursues a lawsuit, because that may be the only way we actually get Hunter Biden to have to actually receive a little bit of accountability. And I don't think the House Government Reform and Oversight Committee or Accountability Committee is going to let this ride. The Twitter hearing was round one. It's going to be an absolute war over the Hunter Biden laptop, and the left is essentially made it clear that they're going to fight tooth and nail to try to suppress it and protect Joe, because the Hunter Biden laptop pretty clearly shows that there's a direct monetary link between various Chinese, Ukrainian, Russian clients of Hunter Biden. I use clients with a quotation mark around it. Clients were, in fact, that he was getting money off of it. Now he won't say that if I put it under oath, but the fact of the matter is, it's right there. He complains about it. He actually complains to his family about it in the laptop. So let's see what we got. Yeah, Stuart, how about 50 years, maybe 60? Yeah, truth is, unfortunately, this is a long-term pattern of behavior, and the FBI has what a lot of people don't remember is that when the left was going after President Nixon, eventually getting him to step down over Watergate, they don't remember that we didn't find out until like 40 years later that the guy who was Deep Throat was the deputy director of the FBI, a guy named Mark Felt. And so, this deputy director of the FBI played an instrumental role in taking down President Nixon. So yeah, the FBI has had a problem for a long, long time. J. Edgar Hoover had files on, allegedly, I haven't seen them, but it was reported that he had files on all the politicians, and he used those files as a means to be able to keep himself in the position of being the FBI director. I haven't seen those files, but that's what's been reported. And so, at some level, you have to ask a question of how intimately involved the FBI has been for the last 75 years in terms of manipulating the U.S. policy and manipulating government figures to do various things that they want done. If nothing else, allow J. Edgar Hoover to continue running the FBI. So that's a real concern, and it's a story that may get told at some point and with real information and accuracy. The sad thing is that it does sully the name of, there are a lot of good people who work at the FBI. The 14 whistleblowers have come out of the FBI saying this is crazy, and have gone to Jim Jordan saying this is, there's a problem here. So we're seeing whistleblowers coming out now. We're seeing all sorts of, really a rebellion at the FBI at the lower ranks, because these guys are putting it, sign up thinking they're the good guys, and you become kind of surprised when you discover you're the bad guys. So it's a so that's your, I just okay. Let's see. It all needs to come out and what part the FBI played in it 100%. And remember, this isn't just the FBI. We know that, according to other testimony, that the Department of Homeland Security was running point in terms of being the point guard in terms of the misinformation blocking campaign, which essentially was a front for the Joe Biden election effort. And so the Department of Homeland Security, through their CISA division, was coordinating all the intelligence agencies and pouring information into social media companies to, shall we say, encourage them to shutter information that was counter to the official narrative and would be damaging to Joe Biden. So this is not just an FBI problem. This is an intelligence community problem as a whole. And quite honestly, when you deal with the Department of Homeland Security, you're really dealing with a law which the Department of Homeland, which the Congress passed in 2018, that set up a division within CISA, within that division of Homeland Security, that communicated with social media companies, specifically under the law. We're told they have to communicate with social media companies to combat misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. And so the last 2 years, 3 years, we've had the Department of Homeland Security getting blocks run on anything that wasn't, the government narrative on COVID. We've had them doing election. They brag about this on the website, by the way. They blocking misinformation about the election being stolen in 2020. So they're the ones who are why you get banned off of various social media sites, because you happen to have the audacity of questioning an election that any reasonable person looking back in history would say, at the very least should have been was tainted, and there was a reasonable person can doubt the validity of the outcome. I'm sorry. So, but that's what you got. And so Homeland Security, what Congress needs to do, they can posture around all they want. Congress needs to rip out their misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation communications with social media companies, and get them out, at least eliminate the congressional authorization for them to meddle in American politics. So that's, what it is. The withheld the information is a creepy joke again in office. And I think there's no doubt that that's true. Remember, these same guys had run a 4-year op against President Trump, and were engaged in a you can't call it anything else but a coup, an attempt to take him down, President Trump down. And so, 2 impeachments ensued because of it. And what kind of irritates me? No, more than irritates me. But what really makes me mad is the same people who spent 4 years denying the legitimacy of the Trump presidency are the same people who are saying, no, you have to bow down and accept the 2020 election results. You have to admit that Joe Biden's a legitimate president of the United States. They never gave that to Trump. They never said, oh yeah, you're the legitimate president. They denied Donald Trump every one of the trappings of office that go with being the president. And it was deliberate, because they could not have Donald Trump be seen as a legitimate president. So So that what they demanded of us, what they demanded of people who had some serious doubts about the Biden election, is exactly the opposite of what they did. And they spent 4 years basically undermining the presidency. You had John Kerry going around doing alternative foreign policy, saying, "Don't do it." Told Iran, "Don't deal with Trump. We'll be in 2021, and we'll be able to take care of you." So he actually went in specifically got in the way of foreign policy by saying, you don't have to deal with them. We're going to get rid of them. I mean, these guys they're you know how you know they're lying is their lips are moving. It just drives me nuts. I'm going to go so here's what we're going to do. We have I think it's important that you take a look, and there's a number of clips from the hearing today, and and those clips from the hearing today, all you need to do is just go through and see them. But the other takeaways in terms of this whole debacle and the hearing today was that sorry, looking for my computer needs to catch up with me. James Comer, chairman of the House Government and Accountability Committee, needs people to reach out to him and praise him. Just go on he's from Kentucky. It doesn't matter if you're from Kentucky or not. Please send an email to Congressman Comer's office, thanking him for standing up and trying to expose the truth, because he's going to come under a tremendous amount of fire. And these guys are human. And if they don't feel like anybody appreciates it, they're going to be less likely to walk into the fire next time. So it's really important that he get a lot of positive affirmation. So I think that's a really important takeaway on this, is when you hear somebody who's doing the right thing and taking flack because they're over the target, we have to support them. We have to let them know and thank them for doing that. Because, in Washington, D.C., you don't get reelected by taking flack. You get reelected by laying low. And these guys are willing to take flack and are fighting, need to be told things. And it doesn't have to just be from their constituents. It can be from people across the country. So I'd strongly urge you to reach out to Representative James Comer's office and thank him for taking on the world on this Hunter Biden laptop issue, because truthfully, the disincentive to do so is so strong in DC that unless they hear from real people in the real world, that's why these investigations end up just getting buried. So please contact his office and thank him for what he's doing. And with that, I'm going to sign off this Rick Manning. We may have something up tomorrow, not sure, but we'll just keep you informed in terms of what the latest is on the Hunter Biden laptop, but also on all the other issues going on in DC. So stay tuned, and we appreciate you joining us.